Legacy brilliantly adapts all of the source material fans of the Potterverse will expect, but wastes it on a rote open world filled with mundane quests. Hogwarts Legacy is developed by Avalanche Software, a subsidiary of Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment. The game has been embroiled in controversy due to transphobic remarks from Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. Although she is not personally involved with its development, she stands to profit from its success. For more, read our in-depth article on how Rowling's comments have impacted the trans community. In this article, you will also find links to trans creators you can support, as well as charities you can donate to. It's difficult to find someone oblivious to the world of Harry Potter. For many it was a property that grew up with them, with both the book and film series persisting in the zeitgeist for decades. It's confusing then that it's taken this long to get a game that promises to deliver on the fantasy of becoming a wizard or witch within that universe. Attending classes, learning spells, engaging in mischief, and exploring the grandeur of Hogwarts Castle. Hogwarts Legacy delivers on that promise, to a degree. Its adaptation of this universe is undeniably the most extensive yet, allowing you to truly explore Hogwarts and its surrounding areas like never before. But it's also stuck too keenly in the present of open-world game design, reducing much of what you do to repetitive checklist activities in a world that is disappointingly barren. Hogwarts Legacy takes place in the late 1800s, although you might be hard-pressed to notice that from the way characters speak or by the clothes they wear, which look ripped straight out of the films set in the late 1900s. You play as a prodigal witch or wizard of your own creation, this time fighting against a goblin uprising led by one particularly nasty one named Ranrock. This props up a predictable and surprisingly sporadic narrative, with main beats and progression only taking place every few hours as you complete the requisite quests around them, which are often barely related. There's so little screen time for many of the main characters that you struggle to get a sense of their motives, especially so in the case of Ranrock, who only appears to deliver a line or two to some subordinates before he disappears for a couple of hours. It robs him, and the story, of any sense of emotional tension, reducing it to nothing more than talented good student takes out bad powerful goblin by the end. While trying to stop a potentially cataclysmic uprising, you'll also be required to juggle the duties that come with being a newly inducted fifth year at Hogwarts. Being both a new and older student means you get to enjoy the thrills of learning some familiar spells from earlier years, but also have access to a wide range of more advanced ones as the year progresses. The initial introduction to each class is captivating, from partaking in duels in defense against the dark arts or being subjected to a screaming mandrake in herbology. These are some of the moments where Hogwarts Legacy is at its strongest, recapturing the sense of wonder that has made this world so enticing to so many. The mechanical components of each class, however, fall woefully short. The small mini-game used to convey wand movements for each spell feels ripped out of the series' very first video game entry nearly 2 decades ago. While many of the activities introduced shortly after are brief, uninteresting, and usually used as a means to fill your map with many more instances of the same thing, they quickly extinguish any glimmers of hope that the school aspect to your time at Hogwarts will be as engaging as many of these classes might seem from the outside. After your introduction to each class, your engagement with each professor and their craft is relegated to even less interesting quests. You're tasked with completing 2 objectives before they'll dole out another spell, with the chores in question sometimes not even making sense for the class they're required for. Some you'll end up completing naturally as you explore or engage with other quests, such as those that require you to use certain spells on enemies or acquire particular potions. Others will, however, routinely force you to deviate from the fun. such as objectives that ask you to either purchase or grow a particular plant in the room of requirement, which can take upwards of 15 real-world minutes. Not too unlike the artificial timers you'd find in a free mobile game. It was confusing to have progression routinely stifled by these activities, given that most main quests generally required a certain spell before they could be started. This growing collection of spells is most useful in Hogwarts Legacy's combat, which initially makes a strong impression. Basic attack and protection spells can be fired off with ease, with the combat flow mimicking a familiar setup of timing blocks and parries as you mash away at the attack button in between. Advanced spells sit on a 4-slot weapon wheel, allowing you to cast them using one of the 4 face buttons. They're filtered into red, yellow, and purple classes, each of which informs you of their overall purpose in battle. Purple spells, such as Oxio and Descendo, are manipulation attacks that can control and move opponents. While red spells such as the fire spell Incendio and disarming spell Expelliarmus are all about damage. Used intelligently together, combat has a rhythmic flow to it that shines most when you're pulling off combos. Flinging a foe into the air, firing off some basic attacks and then suspending them there even further makes you feel incredibly powerful. But it's also an effective way to take down enemies that are happy enough to soak up damage from your basic attack. Time is something Hogwarts Legacy and its repetitive quests, dull open world, and monotonous combat often do not respect. From its slow opening to its insistence on introducing new systems to juggle just for the sake of it. It's a bit of a shame that these parts couldn't coalesce in the same way that its presentation and respect for its universe does. Because Hogwarts Castle persists as a delightful puzzle box to explore from the moment you step foot in its doors to the last day of term. There's equally delightful moments during some of the main quests. Specifically those that balance puzzle solving and combat in ways that challenge your understanding of the spells you have in engaging ways. But these moments are so spread out between much less interesting filler content that it will likely take some of the most dedicated Harry Potter fans to justify seeing the entire journey through.